welcome to our Lambda Chi Alpha Town Hall. We will do introductions in a second, but my name is Jessie Ashton and I serve Lambda Chi Alpha as our Director of Chapter Support and Wellness. Our intended outcomes for today, or our roadmap for tonight, is to do those introductions, give a little bit of an overview on Lambda Chi Alpha and the higher education landscape, review our chapter support model, our programming, and our organizational partners. And then truly we want to spend most of tonight opening up to a question and answer with our two board members we have on this call. So without further ado, I would love Steve, Scott, if you'll introduce y'all's selves, and then Justin and I will go.
Sure, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, hello everyone. I'm Steve Pattison. I'm currently the board chair for Lambda Chi Alpha International Fraternity. We have a fancy title called Grand High Alpha, but essentially that means chairman of the board. I went to Florida State University and was a member, obviously, of Lambda Chi as an undergraduate. And I also have the honor of having one of my sons who went to the University of Florida, also associated with Lambda Chi. And later in the Q&A, I can speak a little bit about my experience and his experiences as well. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Scott Jackson. I serve on the same board with Steve. My title is the Grand High Gamma, which is just an office on the board of directors. I went to Eastern Kentucky University, graduated about 20 years ago. Served Lambda Chi as a chapter advisor for about 15 years or so. I too have a son that actually, probably much like you, you have a son that's an associate member. I have a son that's an associate member at our chapter at the University of Tennessee. So probably wearing two hats, as a Lambda Chi dad of an associate and as a board member. Excited to hear from you all tonight and hopefully answer some questions.
Hello, my name is Justin Fisher. I have the privilege and honor of serving as the Chief Operating Officer for Lambda Chi Alpha Fraternity. I'm also a member. I joined at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro when I was in school there, and I've worked at the office for about 12 years now.
And I'm Jessie Ashton. I serve, as I said earlier, as the Director of Chapter Support and Wellness, which means I oversee our chapter support group and our health and wellness operations. I am a member of Pi Beta Phi from the University of Alabama, and I've been on staff for about 3.5 years now.
Now, we have like a broad, I would say, wide array in terms of audience on this call. And so our intended, I guess, audience or desired audience was parents of associate members. If that is not you, you are more than welcome to be here. This is just a general overview, but if you're an alumnus or an advisor, this may be repetitive or things that you already know. Just kind of wanted to share that. We really wanted to start with an overview of like, who is Lambda Chi Alpha as an organization? What are we about? So on the slide, you can see our mission is to inspire and equip men to lead an ethical life of growth, service, and leadership. And our vision, or what we want the world to become, is a world where the ideal man pursues a life of respect and inclusion for all, a world where we support and encourage one another. So those are two aspects of the organization that really drive everything we do as an organization. What our strategy is and where we go from here are driven by those two things. We have roughly 170 chapters across North America, so both the United States and Canada. One unique, I guess, fact about Lambda Chi Alpha is that we actually have one singular founder. So most organizations are started by a group of people. We were started by one founder, Warren A. Cole, at Boston University in 1909. And then we'll kind of overview this as well. But if your son is not shared with you, one of the unique aspects about Lambda Chi is that in the 70s, we actually got rid of pledging and then had associate membership. We created equal membership for students and men as they joined the organization, same rights and responsibilities and privileges as an initiated member. So that's something that kind of sets us apart as an organization. being that I would say that's probably most of the parents that we interact with are not members, we thought it'd be helpful to kind of go over you how we're structured. And I will try to get through this quickly because this is not the most interesting thing that we'll probably talk about tonight. What is unique is that Lambda Chi Alpha is governed by students. So 75% of the vote at our General Assembly or legislative body is students. So students set laws, students change laws, students are able basically to really chart the course of the organization. And that body meets every 2 years. And so when they are not meeting, our board of directors or our Grand High Zeta, you will learn that we have a special term or name for everything in Lambda Chi. That is something that's very unique to us. But our board of directors then sets the strategic direction of the organization, and then also provides that direction to the Office of Administration. I think one of the most common misconceptions that we hear is that like our Office of Administration has like operational control or authority over chapters. We provide resources, education, training to assist them and help them have the best experience possible. But we also try to ensure that they can operate kind of on their own and they have control over their local experience. And then you'll see some other boxes around there. These are, I would say, other entities that help support the experience. So advisory board, this is a group of volunteers who volunteer their time and energy that actually advise chapter officers and chapter members. So before Scott was actually on the board, he was a longtime chapter advisor and would drive, I think, over an hour every week each way to make sure that he could go to chapter meetings. We work with host institutions, and then also when necessary, there's house corporations if the chapter has a facility that's owned by that entity. This is just a brief overview of kind of what the membership journey in Lambda Chi looks like. So if you are a parent of a brand new associate member, your son has probably gone through the associate member ceremony and has started kind of in that first block on the left with education, may have received a big brother, but this is kind of our onboarding process into Lambda Chi. They'll learn a lot about the organization, some about its history, but more about kind of what it means to be a Lambda Chi. That will culminate with initiation. That's usually 6 to 8 weeks after association. They go through the initiation ritual. There's a debrief afterwards that explains, kind of everything that they're going to see and experience. And then our associate to initiation rate is above 90%. So most of the men that join, almost all the men that join will actually become initiated. From there, the experience is really driven by the members themselves. We'll get into our programming and things that are offered, but a lot of their opportunities in terms of whether they want to serve as an officer or want to chair a committee, that's kind of left up to the individual and the chapters to decide. And then upon graduation, they become alumni and then can stay engaged with the organization, can volunteer. And then we have many alumni that donate to our educational foundation as donors. And I think before we kind of get into Lambda Chi today and some of the new initiatives that we are rolling out this fall, I thought it would be really helpful for us to get on the same page in terms of kind of what's going on with higher education right now and what we are seeing kind of on the macro level. I think the enrollment, Cliff, if you are anywhere near higher education or around that kind of industry, this is often talked about, but there are 1 million less men in college today than there were in 2015. So if you think about like in the 70s, men made up like roughly over 70% of students on campus. And as we get closer to 2030, they're approaching 30% of a college campus population. Combined with the enrollment decline is that the perceived value is also declining. So I think this was in 2019, but 11% of C-suite executives and 13% of adults gave strong approval in terms of work readiness for college graduates. And so these are problems or issues that we're kind of seeing as an organization that is intertwined with higher education, which has really informed kind of our next steps and how we operate as an organization. So there are three things that we really hinge our value on in terms of when someone says, why should I be a Lambda Chi, or why is Lambda Chi Alpha important? Here are the three big pillars that we focus on. So number one, and this will always be true, is belonging. I think helping men of that age, or men of any age, find friends, community, people that they can feel a part of and have support them is incredibly important. I don't know if you read the Wall Street Journal, but there was an article that came out this week that basically 40% of men claim that they do not have a best friend, which is both, I think, shocking and also sad that we're lacking that community. So our big thing is we want to connect people to people that they feel a part of, and that's always going to be a big aspect of Lambda Chi. The second is character. You know, helping men develop into the best versions of themselves, giving them opportunities and experiences where they're able to grow and have other men help them grow as well is going to be important. And then competence. So how do we help our brothers develop skills and have experiences that will help them in their future, whether that's getting an internship or getting a job, advancing their career. All of that is really important to the organization to ensure that we are providing value to men throughout their time in Lambda Chi.
And so to accomplish all of this, we've developed different, and I apologize for my voice. I went to the University of Alabama, so I was yelling at football players all weekend, whether they liked it or not. So we have our chapter support model, which is comprised of our chapter support specialists. Many of these people are recent graduates from either college or graduate school who are specially trained to work with college students. These chapter support specialists work with our high alphas, or our chapter presidents, to provide executive style coaching to those leaders to ensure that they're developing a strategic plan and operating within our expectations. And so they set goals weekly with our chapter support specialists, the chapter presidents do, and then the chapter support specialists help them ensure that the chapter and the chapter leadership are accomplishing those goals. We also have our health and wellness team. They're organizational accountability professionals who work with the health and wellness of our members. So whether that be prevention initiatives, so working with our team to do alcohol, social host liability presentations, sexual assault programming, really anything that falls under that health and wellness risk management sphere, to investigating when we do get an incident or we do get a report, adjudicating that report, and then working with the chapter to shift culture if they are participating in behaviors that don't align with our expectations. And then lastly, a big component of this, and something that we adopted in 2020, is our brotherhood survey. We survey each of our members every fall from September 15th to November 1st. And we gather data on what their experience is looking like in their chapter, so we can help guide those conversations around strategic and operational plans of the chapter in a way that's data driven and really helps them move the needle, and in a way that they can illustrate in future jobs within the chapter as they transition leadership in a numerical manner. So that survey measures belonging, accountability, leadership, satisfaction, health and wellness, and so much more. And we use that data internally to also set goals for how we can support our chapters moving forward. In addition, we have our learning outcomes team who supports all of our programming initiatives for our members. Our Lambda Chi Academy is our new, fresh, intuitive, interactive learning platform that it will be rolled out in September 18th. Comprised in this Lambda Chi Academy is our Ideal Man program, which is a 4-year personal and professional skill building program, really aimed at educating and developing that character and that competence of our members. And it follows them through their time in Lambda Chi for a traditional 4-year, but can also be used if a member joins as a junior and is only here for 4 semesters. So we've built it so that it's relevant no matter how a man joins, what his joining experience looks like, and how his campus operates. And then our STED Leadership College, which is a leadership development program for our officers that really helps them develop the competence to lead the chapter and gives them skills that they can then articulate later to be transferable in the workforce, post-graduation, and beyond.
Yeah, and one of the benefits, and I should point out that we have very generous donors that give to the Educational Foundation, and they raised over $2 million to ensure that we could create this programming for our brothers and members. One of the things that it was a priority was to ensure that this would be made for Gen Z in terms of they can use it on their phone, tablets, computer. There's plenty of devices that you can access and utilize this from. Really made it user friendly. We'll talk about this on the next slide, but it's also gamified. So there's a competitive element to it. People can win prizes. And then the other aspect of it that's really beneficial is that it's blended learning. So some of it happens completely virtual. You can do it on your own. There's also cohorts, which you'll be in a group with other brothers from across North America, in which you can learn together. It'll be guided by a volunteer facilitator. I think when we first rolled this out, we heard a lot of feedback because it was all virtual that, after COVID, we are just sick of just virtual learning and that being the only option. So this blended approach gives multiple options, but also gives students the chance to choose what works best for them and their schedule. So we are really excited that this launches in the next week or so. One aspect I forgot to mention about this is that it's also meant to be social, right? So we don't want students to feel isolated while they're going through this, but they're learning together. They're able to share and kind of learn from each other and each other's experiences as well.
And in conjunction with everything that we're trying to accomplish programmatically and in supporting our chapters, we've also leveraged some relationships with organizations across the country to really help our men achieve what we want them to as far as service and philanthropy goes. So we've partnered with Movember. This is the leading charity dedicated to changing the face of men's health, which is super relevant to our men. Lambda Chi Alpha's partnership with Movember aims to prioritize men's health and research to support it. We have been the highest fraternity fundraising partner for Movember the last 2 years and hope to do it a 3rd year. We just recently secured a partnership with the American Red Cross. And really, this has led to us encouraging chapters and supporting chapters as they host blood drives to ensure that we are saving lives across North America. And then the JED Foundation, our partnership with the JED Foundation creates access to mental health resources and prioritize preventative programming for our men. So this allows us to create resources in reaction to mental health crises for our chapters while also doing prevention programming with them. All 3 of these partners are really valuable to us, and we hope that you see that one of the things that we're centered on as a part of our partnerships is the health and wellness of our members and ensuring that they are healthy and well in college. So with that overview, we wanted to kick it off to questions. So if you want to put questions in the chat, feel free to submit those. I have a couple of prepared questions that we received before today that I will push out to Scott and Steve to start. But please feel free to type in any questions, submit any questions, and we will make sure we answer all of them. So to start, I think we'll just kick it off with something general. Scott and Steve, how has Lambda Chi Alpha impacted you personally in your life?
I'll go. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, it had, to be honest with you, Lambda Chi had a fundamental impact on my life for the good. I did not come a traditional path to college. I was the youngest of 4 children of a single family. A parent, my parents didn't go to college. None of my siblings went to college. I went to college and basically had a really rough go initially. Probably the best decision I made is to trouble financially. I had trouble kind of making the adjustment. Ultimately dropped out after two quarters. But it was the people I met in Lambda Chi that actually made it come back. And I actually went home and started working construction. So my path could have been go back to school, get a degree, and get a professional job, or work construction for the rest of my life. My brothers convinced me to come back to school. I ended up graduating with honors, getting a degree in finance and accounting, worked for a major Big Four accounting firm, and also finance executive for a Fortune 100 company. So much different outcome than what it could have been. So I can't thank them enough for urging me to do the right thing at that tough stage of my life.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off what Steve said. I have a similar background. I came from a very blue collar family. Yeah, I'll be just blunt. The reason I graduated was for Lambda Chi Alpha. The standards our chapter set with grades pushed me to do the best I could academically, and I wanted to stay in school to not disappoint my brothers and to be a Lambda Chi. And what has brought me in life, beside from just the leadership skills and the such that you get just from interacting with people of different views and just being with a group of men for 4 or 5 years, is just overall confidence and just like my backbone as far as who my friends are. I could go through my phone right now and I talk to brothers every day. Guys, the best friends of my life are the guys I was in chapter with 25 years ago. That's who I reach out to when I've had a great day. That's who I lean on when I've had a bad day. So if that was one thing that Lambda Chi has brought away, that would be the one thing I would really hit on. It's just, I mean, they're my core. They're my core group of friends today, 25 years later. Actually, a little longer than 25 years, but yeah, those are the guys that are with me in my greatest moments and my worst.
Thank y'all. And we have a question. So Charles, you should be able to ask it now. Another question we have is, how do you talk to your son about his fraternity experience? And what kind of questions do you ask? What does that conversation look like?
I would defer to Scott initially, since he's probably going through that this semester, but I'll be happy to share mine as well.
Yeah, Steve, I'll hit on that. So as an alum, there's probably some stuff that like I would know that a parent that's not a member wouldn't, but stuff I would tell them is important is just ask about his friend group. Who are you hanging around? Who's your big brother? Normally chapters will have a chapter meeting on Sunday or Monday night. So when you talk to them, ask them how chapter meeting's going. Ask about stuff that's like not your, what we could consider stereotypical fraternity, like social events. Yeah, not much different than what you asked him when he came home from middle school. What kind of stuff did you do today? Like what kind of events is the fraternity doing? And I would really, really stress to get to know those young men that your son's around. These are, like I talked about, these are the guys that are going to stand with him in his best days and are going to be beside him, consoling him on his worst days. So I don't know if I've answered that well enough, but questions like that, just every day, what's going on? What kind of stuff did you do with the chapter? A lot of times they're going to play intramurals. Ask them how they did. Who'd you beat? Yeah, anything like that.
Yeah, and I stress a lot about activities on campus. What kind of philanthropic events are they involved with? Beyond, a lot of times you may get sort of focused on the social aspect, which is very important, but there are many other aspects. What kind of leadership opportunities? I asked my son, what does he think of the leaders of the chapter when he joined? Are these people? Are they people that you want to follow and emulate? Down the road, are these different leadership opportunities? Are they about academics? You a lot of host universities will post scorecards on all the Greek organizations and list their academics. Where are they ranked, sort of thing. So, but most importantly, I asked him if one of the things I stressed when he wanted to join was, I said, you really need to get out of your comfort zone and uh, socialize with people who are not like you. Uh, so is there enough diversity of people from different places, geographical diversity, ethical diversity, religious diversity, that you feel like this experience is going to give you an opportunity to really expand your horizons and really learn a lot from people who don't walk and look like you. And he took that to heart.
Thank you. And then the last question I have, and if anyone has any more, feel free to put them in the Q&A submission. But what do you wish you would have known before your son joined or before you joined Lambda Chi?
I would say that I'll take a shot since this is focused on parents. Let me answer the son question first. I think I didn't really appreciate a lot of host institutions have very controlled processes for us, and others it's pretty loose. I probably didn't. I wish I would. 2020 hindsight, I didn't really understand the process that well, how they went about it, and the timing, and all that sort of thing. So I probably would have liked to have understood that a little bit better to help guide him a little bit with that. But he did a great job, and actually he didn't join Lambda Chi because I was in it. I was actually surprised. I actually encouraged him to connect wherever you feel you have the best chemistry. If you want to go Greek, that's where you should go. Because chapters are different, different campuses and that sort of thing. In my experience, go. But he called me one day and said, "I associated with Lambda Chi. Just wanted to let you know." So it was a pretty big day. To be honest with you, it was pretty exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think for me as an undergraduate, and it's maybe that I didn't know, but something I didn't understand then was just the scope of Lambda Chi Alpha. When you're an undergraduate, fraternity is very local. You're going to know the men on your campus, and you don't understand we're at 170 campuses and probably have close to over 200,000 living alumni. So it's not a 4-year, 5-year experience as an undergraduate. You're going to be a Lambda Chi Alpha alum a lot longer than you are an undergraduate. And the one thing that, certain thing I didn't know going in, but something I learned is you don't use Lambda Chi in the past tense. I am a brother of Lambda Chi Alpha. It always irritates me when undergraduates or alums say like, "Well, I was Lambda Chi." You still are. It is a lifetime organization. It's a lifetime brotherhood. So I'm going back to talk about it again, but the young men that your son is meeting now, that's going to be his friends for forever. I could lift up my phone. I talked to my big brother about an hour and a half ago. The guy I met, he was given to me as a big brother in Richmond, Kentucky, on Eastern Kentucky's campus in September of 1997. Still talk to him. Talked to him an hour ago. I mean, that's your backbone. So I think if it was one thing that I wish I knew, was just the scope of the organization, how awesome it can be.
Hey, Jess, if I may, if you'll allow me, I could like to extend a little bit about this concept of a lifetime. Number one, it's a challenge to try to communicate to an 18-year-old man what a lifetime of relationship is meaning, what it means. They just came out of a 4-year high school, and they're probably looking at a 4 or 5-year, like Scott said, time horizon to get to their undergraduate. But this really is a lifetime of opportunity, and it's not only a lifetime of friendship, as Scott mentioned. but an opportunity to connect with the over 200,000 alumni that he mentioned as well. We've got probably early days in this, but we have a vision right now of creating a portal that'll better connect our alumni with undergraduates and recent graduated alumni and throughout phases of their career. And this connectivity will really allow this lifetime of membership to really to yield benefits throughout the course of your whole career. Think of the mentoring opportunities and the somebody who wanted to be a chief financial officer and wanted to speak to somebody like me about what do I got to do to get there? What are the steps I got to take? I would do that in a heartbeat. It's a matter of finding a way to. Now it's a little haphazard, but there are digital solutions that can do this, and we're building it. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen next year, but it is going to happen in the hopefully before my term is over, because I want to appoint to an accomplishment, and it'll be a huge benefit to anybody that versus somebody who joins another organization or doesn't join a Greek organization. It's just like the MasterCard commercial. It's priceless. So.
Well, thank y'all. We have one more question, asking what's the actual difference between associate membership and pledging? And then I have a follow-up to that. So if one of you wants to take that, or you want one of us to take it, we can take it also.
You want me to do that, or you guys want to cover those?
We can go. So the difference between associate membership and pledging is that our associate members have all the rights and responsibilities of membership outside of knowing initiation ritual. Once they've gone through our associate member ceremony, which happens pretty quickly after they receive their bid. So those members can hold a leadership position before they're initiated. They can vote before they're initiated. All those privileges and expectations of membership exist no matter whether you're active and initiated or an associate member. And then the second follow-up was, what are the guidelines on drinking and other substances and the health and wellness aspect of chapter support? So what our team does is, again, we meet weekly with our chapters, but we also serve as the primary point of contact in the event something happens. So we get reports from campuses, parents, girlfriends, community members about something going on with one of our chapters, and we investigate everything. So no matter how small the report is, we investigate. We talk to whoever we need to talk to, write up a report, and then use a educational accountability system to really help our chapters see like what went wrong, how they can prevent it in the future, and what programming and accountability they need to ensure that nothing happens in the future. One of the things we're really proud of is in the last 3 years, we saw an increase as we built up our chapter support model of incidents, which we attributed to the fact that we were building more relationships. We were talking to our students more. They were hearing from us. They knew where to go to report things. And then we've now seen our incidents cut into a third. We've seen a third of the amount of incidents that we did in 2020, in 2023, or in the same time in 2023. And we truly believe that we're shifting culture, as we help our chapters recruit differently, provide programming and value proposition that recruits a different kind of member, and we're really developing these men. And so our health and wellness component is just as crucial as our chapter support component as we really try and support our collegians.
Yeah, and I would add, like, our policies and laws are very clear, right? We expect all members to follow all laws, local laws, state laws, federal law, et cetera. But our education model is based on information, right? So we want our students to make informed choices. So particularly, I would say, especially around like alcohol, right? We want the students to understand what happens when you consume alcohol, what happens as you increase like quantity or rate that you consume alcohol in your body? Why do you, what happens to your cognitive ability as that happens? We know we're not there, right? We're not there 24/7 with them. We cannot, much like you, right? You're not there. You can't be there with them. So, our hope is that through education and programming, they are making informed decisions. And this is an environment in which they are able to make these decisions. And if they do make mistakes, they're able to learn from those mistakes within the organization.
Thank you all. Sorry, I was just making sure we didn't have any more questions. Thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. If you ever need anything or have any questions about your son's experience, please do not hesitate to reach out. Both Justin and I's emails are up there on the screen, and we are happy to connect with you and talk more about your son's experience. If anything ever doesn't feel right, or you hear something from your son that sounds a little bit fishy, feel free to give us a call and say, like, hey, is this normal? We are happy to walk through that. We're also happy to remain anonymous if you would like to just have an anonymous conversation or a hypothetical conversation. We ultimately care about the health and safety and well-being of your son or your member, and we want to make sure that we're serving you as one of our stakeholders to the best of our ability. We will look to do more town halls and more stakeholder meetings throughout the year. We will also have parent messaging that goes out on at least a quarterly basis. So please be on the lookout for that. And if this went to your spam, please consider adding us to your address book. So in the future, Lambda Chi emails don't do that. Thank you all so much and have a great rest of your night.